keeping everything open and honest is the best way of avoiding any of those fights that I've found anyway.
Yeah, which kind of leads into number 3, creative differences.
Creative differences, yes.
You're going to have that no matter what.
So in the instance of where it's starting to tear a band apart, have you ever had that happen?
Oh yeah, I think everybody who's played in bands has had that happen. You'll have somebody that really wants to go one direction and somebody who wants to go another direction, and they might be more alpha than the other guys in the band. Mm-hmm. And so they're used to speaking their mind. You know, you look back at that and you wind up thinking there probably should have been some compromise on my end, or I wish they would have been able to compromise on their end, or maybe we should have both compromised. More often than not, both people should have compromised somewhere. You know, you'll have somebody who's like into Slayer and Metallica and Megadeth and Anthrax, and you'll have another guy who's, you know, like Def Leppard and Poison, and that very glam. Wow, that's totally different directions, right? My favorite bands and all the great bands, and you know, this is just my opinion, being an older dude. And when I say the great bands, I'm talking like Zeppelin, The Who, The Beatles, you know, the Stones. Their template was really wide on all the things that they did. I mean, they ran from very, you know, somewhat poppy stuff to some really progressive stuff to some really, really heavy stuff. But some people like one flavor a lot. Some people really like chocolate and they want to just have that chocolate. Some people like Neapolitan ice cream.
Looking at you, sludge, doom, fucking metal people.
Well, no, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that because, you know...
I can think of a few things wrong with that. So number 4, toxic behavior. And I'm talking like anything from a guy who's just acting like an asshole, or like if you're at a gig and they start a fight with someone, they just have a bad attitude, or even things as much as like addiction or alcoholism or anything like that.
Addiction's a big problem. I've seen that a ton of times. The person's got to go.
Yeah.
You know, I mean it's that simple. If somebody's got a drug or alcohol problem, there is no discussing it.
That's one of the most draining things for like any one person, but then the group of people that's around them, that they are starting to bring people down with them, no matter who it is.
They'll show up late for gigs. I've been in a band where
we were starting soft.
Yeah, I was in a band. We were playing a gig in Edwardsville, Illinois. We're playing this new place that had a great stage, and they had this screen that came down in front of the stage, and they'd play videos or whatever between sets. We were supposed to go on at 9 p.m. So we all showed up, you know, in time to set up, quickly sound check, and what have you. Singer doesn't show up. Okay, he's not going to show up for sound check. Whatever. The guy, the sound man, he'll get it in the first song. We're set up and we're ready to go. We're in our stage gear. This was in the later 80s. No singer. It's 9 o'clock. No singer. It's 9:15. No singer. It's 9:30. No singer. It's 9:45. It's no singer. The other guitar player in the band and I get the drummer and the bass player, and we go into the dressing room. And we're like, hey, we can't sit here and not play. The bar owner's getting pissed. We'll be lucky if we get paid tonight. We're gonna get lucky if we don't get thrown out of here. We made a decision to get up and play, starting off the songs that the other guitar player and the bass player sang, and that we would rotate vocals if we needed to, which, I mean, I was like, oh man, God help us if I sing. You know, I mean, I can sing Red House, but you know, anybody can sing Hendrix because he wasn't a great singer. You know, he was monster, obviously.
Damn right, he wasn't.
I don't care what people say. Hendrix was not a great singer. Absolutely. He's a great songwriter.
He learned to sing in the school of Bob Dylan. All right.
Well, you know, the story is that he heard Bob Dylan said, "If he can do it, I can do it."
Exactly.
Damn right. If Bob Dylan can do it, anybody can sing. You know, you realize that with these two statements that we've made about Hendrix and Dylan about their singing ability, you're gonna get flamed to fucking hell. They're the greatest of all time. No.
Bill, I'm so used to it. First of all, you'll probably give me shit for this list too, but the classic rock tier list that I did, I still get a hateful comment every day, multiple hateful comments every day, and that video is several weeks old. It's literally only blowing up because people love dropping hate. Shit you not. Like, I'll take it. I'm getting paid for it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I've just stopped reading the comments and just like, this is useless.
So we walk out of the dressing room. We're getting ready to start up. In walks the singer. I said, so hey, what's the problem? You do too much blow? And he goes, eh. So the problem was, he'd been getting high and doing cocaine like a freak, and so he showed up late. One of the owners of the biggest club in the area, a place called Stages, happened to be there to see us. He wasn't a big fan of the singer to begin with, but he figured, well, these guys tend to be able to pack people in, because we packed people in.
That's a big part of it.
That is a big part of it. The more people that are there, the more people you're gonna sell drinks to.
It's like I kept telling you guys, asses in seats. Asses in seats.
Yeah, you can suck, but if people come to see you, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
You know? So you never know when somebody who can help you out is gonna be there. And if you've got somebody who has a drug problem especially, no way. If you have somebody who mouths off to somebody in the audience, club owner's not going to dig that, because that means people aren't going to come back. The only way you can get away with that is if that guy's like throwing stuff at you, or, you know, being violent with the other,
or if you're Dave Mustaine. If you're just Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, but I bet you, you know, dollars to donuts, Dave Mustaine didn't get away with that crap in a club before anybody knew he was Dave Mustaine.
Very true.
He is Dave Mustaine, and Megadeth moved mountains, and so he can get away with a lot now. But I tell you what, I get the impression that Dave Mustaine runs his business like a businessman, and does not act like an asshole to people from the stage unless they're being assholes in the audience.
Yes. And
at that point,
I'm sure he's had to learn a lot of hard lessons too.
I think everybody does. But you know, he's definitely a consummate professional, or he wouldn't be where he is. If somebody's harassing people in the audience, a singer can call it out, but call it out for the benefit of the bouncer. Let the bouncer take care of it. But yeah, if they're
or at least like for the rest of the crowd, it's not just like I'm pissed off at you because you've personally offended me type of thing.
Right, or you're not clapping enough. Well, you know what? Put on a better show. I will never forget, we played a gig at a country bar. We were a pop, hard rock, metal band. This was with Val and Mark again, and a singer that we had at this point named Rudy. Rudy was a really nice guy. Val had gotten this gig. That band struggled really, really badly. And I remember it was like a scene it was like the scene in the Blues Brothers where they play the country bar and they're behind the chicken wire.
Yup.
But we didn't have chicken wire. And I had a broken foot, so I couldn't even run away from those guys. Damn. And I remember turning around to Val while we're playing. I was like, don't book us here again. Because I was scared. I was like, you know, you had the guys with the Bowie knives on their belt and everything. I'm thinking, I'm gonna get gutted like a fucking fish right here, and I can't even run away to get away from it. I am totally screwed. They couldn't stand us. I mean, we were not the right band for them. But we just tried to put on the best show that we could because we had no other choice. What else were you gonna do? You know, we were mismatched. The only thing you can do is try and win them over. If you can't do that, oh well, at least you tried, you know?
At that point, I would, like, just thinking about being in that situation, I would do everything in my power to resort to the bluesiest things we could possibly play.
We did. I do remember that, but, you know, I remember thinking, man, I want to get out of here in one piece.
Yeah.
You know, but it was funny. The club owner paid us, and he goes, "You're the worst fucking band I've ever seen in my life." And we were like, No, we're just the wrong fucking band. You know, you guys wanted some Waylon and Willie. We didn't have any Waylon and Willie. We never gave the crowd attitude for not liking us, because that's toxic, and they you know, they don't have to like you. You know,
exactly.
They're doing you a favor by actually even being there. You know, and I mean, I think that's a big thing. They're doing you a favor, and if you got
could you possibly describe this as gratitude?
It's one thing to poke fun because that's part of being in a band. And if you're in a band, like typically it's, guys are with guys and girls are with girls. And definitely with guys, we needle the hell out of one another. The way we know our guy friends, truly our guy friends, is they give us a wrath of shit to our face and talk really great about us behind our back. but truly belittling you on stage, that's totally unacceptable. Because, you're supposed to be a cohesive unit. And that's not just musically, but, as there's, like a band of brothers kind of thing.
Last one, personality differences. And tough. I think this seems like a pretty complicated subject, honestly.
Man, with personality differences, it's like, it doesn't matter what the talent level is. It doesn't matter what the behavior is. It doesn't matter the commitment level. It doesn't matter the creative differences. All of those things can be totally in line and working. And if you have personality differences, what I've found it comes down to is an ability to communicate with somebody else. And it typically happens with two people who are more alpha than not. I guess wanting to take a leadership position or really having a strong view of how they want to see things go or what have you. You can be great friends outside of the band, but then inside of that situation, you have personality differences because it's like a girlfriend. When you're dating, everything's easy and everything's great, and you get that break from one another because you go to your separate homes and everything's great and everything's wonderful. When you move in with your girlfriend and you find out that she's left the cap off the toothpaste, or she keeps the soap soaked in water, or she moves your stuff around. Or whatever it is that would drive you crazy.
Definitely has never happened. These are all just random examples he's pulling out of thin air.
You find out these things about that person that really aren't bad, but they grate you.
There are clashes.
Yeah. The very first band I ever played in was a band called Static. We were actually not a bad band, even though the band name would lead you to believe it was just noise. But we were not a bad band, for a high school band. Okay, the singer could sing, he could play guitar, he was a nice guy, and he and I didn't get along. Outside of that, we get along great.
Yeah,
we get along great. He's a good guy. He's married. He's got kids. He's good. He's a good, solid husband. He's a good, solid father. His name's Brian Chappell. And Brian is in a band now in St. Louis called Divine Sorrow that's doing really well.
Awesome.
They have really good music, but he and I had personality differences, and we would clash. And I can't tell you why. Maybe I was a dick. I don't know.
Maybe he was a dick.
Well, I mean,
it could go either way.
You could have two guys that are totally nice, but for some reason, once they get into that situation, they rub one another the wrong way.
Yeah. A friendship relationship is very different from a business relationship. Very different.
Well, and here's the thing. It's like being in a band is like being married.
Especially if you're going to be doing a tour.
Oh, dude. I was on the road with Anthony Gomes, and it was a 4-man band, and we all got along, and it was a blast.
Mm-hmm.
We were in close quarters all the time. Was probably the best band leader I've ever had.
Damn.
He made sure we got paid before he got paid, which is sometimes unusual, but it's actually the way it goes. You pay your employees before you pay yourself. Then I was on the road with another group, and the band leader was a complete. This wasn't creative differences because it was a band leader. I was a hired gun. It does make a difference. Are you in a band or are you a hired gun? If you're in a band, everybody gets an equal say. Yes, typically there will be, a leader or a couple of guys that take the lead, but everybody gets a say because it's a band. It's a cohesive unit. You're all working together.
It's a family.
Right. When it's an artist and a backing band or a bunch of hired guns, you know what? You sit back, The artist makes all the decisions, and you might not like it.
You're getting paid,
but you're getting paid, and you deal with it. And so that kind of dynamic needs to be taken into effect. If there are personality differences between people who are hired guns, the guy who's starting the problem typically that starts the arguments typically goes. If it's pretty even, what I've seen happen in the past is, the artist will pull those guys aside and say, you guys need to knock it off. If you're a hired gun and you've got toxic behavior is part of what you do, you're probably going to get fired on the spot, or you're not going to be asked back. That happened where I was playing in a band that toured. I was playing in Pavlov's Dog, did the 2007 tour, went out on the road with Anthony Gomes the next year, and that was great. And I got a call from Pavlov's Dog because the person who had taken my spot apparently had some toxic behavior. And it's not that he was a mean person or a bad person, but I guess personalities didn't work, so it was part of personality differences. And apparently, from what they were saying, he drank too much. And some of his behavior on stage was he'd try and get the band to stop while he dialed in his tones in the middle of a song. It's like, yeah, you've already started, just deal with it.
In the middle of a song.
Yeah.
He must have been drinking.
Well, he didn't have his priorities in order. You walk into a show, you got a back line. It's 9 times out of 10 that back line's not optimal or far away from optimal. As a matter of fact, completely inoptimal. And so what you do is you put in your earplugs and you say, I'm going to pretend that this is the best tone I've ever had, because that guy that paid 25 to 40 euros that's standing in front of me could have done anything else with his money, but he's here and he deserves the best show I've got. I wound up getting a call, and Dave said, hey Bill, how would you like to go on tour? And I was like, well, I thought so-and-so was playing with you. And he said, well, it's not working. It didn't work with him. I said, have you talked to so-and-so? Because last I understood, so-and-so is looking forward to the next year of going on tour. And so I said, look, if you talk with so-and-so, they're okay with me taking it because this person was also a friend of mine. I said, I'd be happy to go. If you don't talk with so-and-so, it creates a real problem for me. I don't want to be the one that's delivering news. But personality conflicts, if you're in a band, the personality conflicts, you've got to figure out how you're going to communicate.
And it's not like it's impossible. Sometimes it's really hard, and to the point it's like, how much effort do you want to put in? But, there's typically a solution there, but both parties have to be willing to basically come to the table on that, make some compromises.
Right. Well, one of the things, it's like sometimes you'll find a situation where somebody will make decisions without talking with the other members of the band.
That's not good.
That's very bad.
Don't do that.
It's very bad.
We should have added that to the list.
Yeah. When that happens, like, you might be checking out new players for your band, and so somebody's so anxious to get a band together that they say, hey man, how regularly can you practice and can you get these songs together? And you're like, and the other members are going, wait a minute, I've got some real concerns about this guy, and we need to talk. But now it's too late. And so now what do you do?
So an additional thing here, as far as how I work it, like I'll at least bring someone into like a couple practices, but I would not necessarily consider them a part of the band until like I would like lay it down, And you definitely, like he was saying, you gotta communicate with the rest of the members. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you feel about this? Do you feel comfortable with him in this setting? Do you think he's showing up and actually delivering? How do you feel about him personality-wise?
Right.
Thankfully, personality has never been an issue since I've been to town. Well,
right.
at least, again, it was for one band, but that band's no longer a band.
Well, one of the things is like Martin and I were working up stuff, and I had suggested that we covered the Police's Murder by Numbers and do our own way of doing it. And so I was wondering why we were never getting around to it. Now, we had some other things that we were working on. And finally I was talking with Martin one time, and he was having it on. I was like, dude, just tell me. If you don't want to do that tune, just tell me you don't want to do that tune. You got to be careful about how how you also approach shooting down somebody else's ideas. You don't want to necessarily shoot it down. I can be guilty of speaking my mind faster than thinking. my mind. But
I've done that a handful of times.
yeah, so you got to be careful, because then that creates a personality clash too, especially if it tends to be with one specific person versus others. And I've been guilty of that, just because I'm like an ADHD poster child, and so sometimes my filter is not there. And so that's one thing. When you go into a band, you want to develop that filter up until you've got enough of a relationship with somebody that you know that you can work with that person and be completely blunt.
Bill, I really appreciate you, man. This has been awesome.
Oh, it's always a good time hanging out.
Young kids, take note, please. Especially for those of you who have no idea what to expect because you're still in high school, and I know there's more of you than you would like to admit.
I saw Robert Plant. I'm not old enough to have seen Zeppelin.
Well, let's not go too far into it. Just
okay.
Gotta end the video.
But fuck this guy.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Yeah, watch this. What a motherfucker.
Thank you guys.
See, we can get away with that because we know one another well enough to know that it's not actual hate. But I'll talk to you about this later. I'm going to put on my glasses and look important. Or old.
Thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. Rock on!